Marcus Ellison never imagined that his quiet trip to his son's graduation would become a moment that tested dignity, loyalty, and the silent bond of brotherhood. The principal, sweating under the fluorescent lights of the gym, rushed between the guards and Marcus. His voice trembled, but he tried to sound firm. "Gentlemen, let's not ruin this day. Please step back." Rick clenched his jaw, glaring at Marcus. "He's in the wrong place." The principal shook his head, waving Marcus's ticket in the air. "He's in the right place. He's a father here to see his son graduate. That's all that matters." But the damage was already done. The entire gymnasium, packed with parents, students, grandparents, was holding its breath. The audience had witnessed something deeper than an argument over a seat. They had seen a decorated Marine, a man who carried his country on his shoulders, being treated with disrespect on the very day his son was supposed to feel proud. And then the sound of footsteps echoed from the side doors. The graduating seniors were lining up, ready to walk onto the stage. Marcus's son, Jordan, tall, sharp-eyed, with his mother's smile, stood among them in his cap and gown. He didn't yet know what was happening inside the gym. He didn't know that his father had nearly been forced to leave. But the sight of those 6 men, standing silently behind Marcus, was a message even he would one day understand. His father was never alone, and respect was not asked for, it was commanded. The principal raised his hand, signaling the band to play. The guards, humiliated, stepped back reluctantly, though Rick's eyes burned with resentment. The crowd began to clap again, but the mood had shifted. They weren't just celebrating a graduation anymore, they were witnessing a quiet stand for dignity. As the students filed in, Marcus straightened his uniform. His heart pounded as Jordan appeared, walking proudly toward the stage. Marcus thought of his late wife, the woman who never got to see this day. He thought of the nights he stayed awake, juggling military life and fatherhood, making sure Jordan never felt alone. And now, as Jordan's name was called, Marcus stood taller than he ever had in his life. Jordan Ellison. The gym roared with applause. Jordan stepped across the stage, shaking hands, holding his diploma with pride. For a brief second, his eyes scanned the crowd. When they landed on Marcus, his step slowed. His eyes shone with tears. He didn't see the uniform. He didn't see the polished boots. He saw his father, the man who had sacrificed everything so this moment could exist. Jordan raised his diploma high, as if dedicating it to his father, and the audience, already emotional, erupted again. Families cheered, some even standing to clap harder. Not just for Jordan, but for the Marine in the front row who had just silently taught everyone in that gym a lesson about respect. The ceremony continued, names being called one by one, but whispers lingered in the air. People kept glancing at Marcus and the 6 silent men who remained standing like pillars scattered across the room. They weren't loud, they didn't move, but their presence carried weight heavier than thunder. After the last name was called and the caps were thrown high into the air, the gym filled with laughter, hugs, and photographs. Jordan hurried down the stage steps and pushed through the crowd until he reached his father. For a moment he couldn't speak. He just wrapped his arms around Marcus, holding him tightly. "I did it, Dad," Jordan whispered, his voice cracking. Marcus's strong hands held his son's shoulders. "No, son, we did it. Your mother's watching. She's proud." Jordan nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I know she is." The 6 Marines began to approach slowly, one by one. Caleb Mercer was the first, his limp still faintly visible from the wound Marcus had saved him from years ago. He saluted Marcus, then placed a hand on Jordan's shoulder. "You've got a good man for a father," Caleb said softly. "Don't ever forget what he stood for." Jordan's eyes darted between his father and these men, realizing for the first time that the stories Marcus had told weren't just words, they were standing here, living proof of his father's courage. The crowd watched as one by one, the Marines clasped Marcus's hand, some hugging him briefly, others simply nodding in silent respect. To outsiders, it looked like a reunion, but to them, it was a vow renewed, a brotherhood that never broke, no matter how many years or miles separated them. Rick Dalton, the guard, lingered in the back of the gym, shame crawling across his face. He had misjudged Marcus, treated him as just another man in a chair. Now he realized he had stood against a wall of history, sacrifice, and unshakable loyalty. He turned and left quietly, swallowed by the crowd, his arrogance dimmed. As the families began to leave, Marcus, Jordan, and the 6 Marines stood together outside.